Hello, everyone. Matthias Bohlen here. So happy to see you all. I'm here today with a very special topic called either you have taste or you have an architecture. Please don't have both. I got up with this title because I experienced so many architectural debates. When I was a young architect, I was fiercely engaged in those. And after a while, I saw that it's actually a bad idea to have long debates about architecture. There should be a systematic process for that. Before we get to that, just a little introduction for myself. My name is Matthias Bohlen. I'm a freelance consultant on software architecture, software engineering methods, domain-driven design, architecture, documentation and evaluation, all these kinds of methods. And I help teams with that to get their software out in good quality with a solid architecture that doesn't break if you make changes on the system. And I also help you to keep sane in your mind, right? So let's dive in for today. I've prepared a Miro board for you. Alison, could you please share the link with the participants so that all people can join on this Miro board? We have some interactive exercises, actually 2 of them. And I have also prepared some slides for you with content about how to make architecture systematically, to elaborate architecture systematically. So let's dive in. So first of all, here's the first piece of Miro board for you. You can join me in manipulating these Post-it notes. And my first question to you would be, let's collect some topics of debate that you have experienced in your architectural work. I've created 2 colors here. The green ones are for your opinions that you had at that time. And the red ones are for the opinions that the other people had about the appropriate architecture. So let's collect some sticky notes over here. I'll go into live mode here. So just press Ctrl D or Command D on a Mac to duplicate these Post-it notes and write your own opinions or the opinions of the other people that you had in the project. Just have a small time box for that. So it might have been that you had some architectural approach in mind, that you had some structures in mind, that you had some patterns in mind, something that you learned on a conference, whatever your opinion came from. Oh, lots of people here. I love that. Yeah, microservices everywhere. Yeah, I have that too. That was very popular, starting to become popular a few years ago already. Functional JS. Oh yeah, interesting. Yeah, all this majestic monolith or modular monolith approach versus microservices. Yeah, of course, that's a good topic for debate. PostGIS functionality. Yeah, should I use the native features of a database or should I not use them because of portability? Of course. Object-oriented JavaScript. Yeah. Data schema before model. Oh, good question. Yeah. CQRS. Yes, yeah. Is it worth the pain or is it not? Having some quality goals. Yeah, this would be a good idea. React versus Angular. Of course, always these discussions. the framework of the week, so to say. No, React is here since 2012, and Angular is here since, yeah, around the same time. A little later, I think. GraphQL, yeah, GraphQL versus REST, also nice discussion to have. SES versus multi-layered microservices, yeah, self-contained systems. How big should a service be? Should it be something bigger? Should it be a micro thing? Yeah, depends on lots of criteria. That's cool. Start with simple design and improve it afterwards if it doesn't meet performance requirements, yeah. Or the entire topic, like, should we optimize performance from the get-go, or should we do it later? Also a good topic for debate. A monorepo, yeah, interesting. Should we have a huge monorepo, or maybe not so huge? Oh, I just stop these notifications over here. Bells and whistles. Yeah, so cool. So I think we can go on. Yeah, you see, debates are popular, right? People like to debate. So why do have people debates? I take code formatting as an example. Code formatting is not architecture, but it's a similar hot topic for debate, right? And we can learn a lot of things from that. How long, for example, did you discuss these questions? Should a single lambda parameter have parentheses around it or not? If I have only one parameter, I can skip the parentheses. Or indentation issues. Should the keyword else better be on the next line or on the same line as the closing brace of the then part? Code formatting can become a hot topic, especially when the entire team has their opinions about it. Fortunately, in this simple case, we have a framework for that called Prettier, or a code formatter. It makes most of these choices non-configurable. It's very interesting if you look at the options. Parameters around a lambda parameter are configurable, but they have a surprising default value that says you should have those parentheses. But most of the other stuff, like indentation, for example, is not configurable. And okay, why is this? Because Prettier says we want to end these debates. We want to be a tool that ends debates. Interesting. I would have taken the other approach, but yeah, this wouldn't have ended the discussions. This would only have a formatting for code. People debate because they optimize for different goals. And it becomes more complex with architecture. Architecture is not as easy to decide as code formatting, right? For example, the lady on the left, she thinks, I want performance, and therefore she says, let's add a cache. The man on the right says, I want a system that's easy to maintain. So he says, let's avoid a cache. This may take a long time because you don't see the thoughts in the heads. You only see the statements people make. So one person says, let's add a cache. The other person says, let's avoid a cache. Both have their good reasons for that because they have different qualities in mind that they are trying to achieve for their project. And yeah, architectural discussions, difficult word, may take a long time. They may take 10x as long as code formatting discussions, and that's already quite some time. And the question is, usually, do we have time for this in the project? No, normally we don't. So yeah, what do we do in these cases? I thought deeply about this topic, and I thought, yeah, there must be some systematic approach, because having an opinion about architecture is great, but even better would be if you have criteria to work on your architectures. And what I've seen are 5 things in yellow here 3 things on the left, 2 things on the right, that occur most often in systematic architecture development. And we could use them as a kind of shopping list, as a kind of good practice for our architectural work. First of all, every project has some goals. Goals can come in various flavors, let's say. They come as stories, they come as requirements, processes. The business side can tell their stories. So each project has a lot of goals. Each project also has a context, let's say an organizational context, some external systems, some constraint, like, for example, the number of people we have or the amount of money we have. So context is also very important. Goals are not enough. And each project is trying to achieve certain qualities for their architecture. Let's say some people want their architecture to be portable. We want to have a system that understands or speaks different languages, English, German, Spanish, French, whatever. This is a challenge. Or we want to have our system installed in the whole world with different calendar formats, different currencies, and so on. So portability, if people want portability, this can already induce a number of challenges. I've collected all the other 7 categories from the ISO norm, from the 25010 norm. It's a good shopping list if you want quality for your systems. So things like efficiency, usability, security, maintainability, reliability, all these things that you want to have, these ilities, will drive your architecture very decisively. And on the right side, I thought, most architectures have structures in them, right? Some kind of modular structure, some kind of deployment structure, some kind of runtime or communication structures, communication between modules. So yeah, goals and context could lead us through those structures. I will talk about more about that in a minute. The qualities have are a different driving force. They usually drive us towards architecture approaches. Like, what do we do for performance? Yeah, maybe we introduce a cache. What do we do for usability? Yeah, we take some good patterns like, where am I? What is the next step? How do I reverse one step? Let's introduce checks for our user interface, and so on. So for each quality you're trying to achieve, there's a number of approaches that have been proven to achieve those qualities. So yeah, I thought, why not take goals and context and make structures? And why not take the qualities and make approaches towards a good architecture? So this brings us one step further than merely having an opinion about architecture. So let's have a look at Bas, Clemens, Kasman, the 3 architects who wrote this famous book, Software Architecture in Practice. And they said, that's an interesting architecture definition they have. They said, software architecture is the set of structures we need to reason about our system. Interesting, right? The set of structures which comprise software elements, relations among them, and the properties of both, the properties of the elements and properties of the relationships between them. This is interesting. They say a structure is a set of elements held together by a relation. The examples they bring are static structures like partitioning the system into modules, implementation units, other kinds of partitioning. Dynamic structures like, for example, components and connectors, or pipes and filters, or some kind of a way to describe, to reason about the dynamic structures of a system, the dynamic behavior. Communication at runtime would be a topic for this. How do components communicate with each other? How do they communicate with the user or with external systems? And finally, the allocation structures, like allocation to teams. How do I know which component is made by which team? Or allocation to machines. That means which component is running on which machine. So all these structures, 3 examples over here, but there can be many more, allow us to reason about the system, especially reason about one attribute of a system that's relevant to some stakeholder. For example, the UX experts or the users could care about usability. The auditors could care about functional correctness, or the security experts could care about the attackability of the system. What happens when we're out on the internet and some hacker comes around and trying to attack us? And the result of that reasoning should be a set of approaches we go. The approaches we make, they are ways in which patterns and tactics that have established themselves over so many decades now, how they affect particular quality attributes. For example, one approach could be a cache pattern, right? You introduce a cache. How does that affect performance? Yeah, it's good for performance, but how does it affect the age of data that you see? Yeah, a cache. When I have a cache, the data that I see becomes older. Okay, can I deal with this? Or yeah, what's the meaning of this? So software architecture is a set of structures you need to reason about the system. So which patterns and tactics do we use to achieve those qualities? Let's say we could, for example, introduce active redundancy, have some redundant servers or whatever to have availability. We could introduce layers or hexagons or onions or whatever to achieve maintainability or portability, possibly at the expense of performance, but usually it's not that big of a problem. Or we could introduce publish-subscribe patterns to achieve scalability and maintainability again, and so on and so on. So all these colorful patterns that you see here as an example, they are patterns and tactics. Patterns is a little bit bigger. It has a context, a situation where it can be applied, a problem it solves, an approach it has, and the final result and the consequences. A tactic is similar to do, right? It's simply introduce this to achieve that. So patterns are a little bit bigger than tactics. Both together, they make the approaches. Good, so here's another interactive exercise for you. I invite you to take these colorful Post-it notes and put some stickies here that says A for Q, an approach for a certain quality. So which approaches did you choose, replace A by your approach, to achieve which quality? So replace the Q by the quality you wanted to achieve. Again, you can use Command D or Control D to duplicate these tickets and to write your own things on them. So I make an example over here. For example, I have used a cache for performance. Okay, you can write similar stickies. Yeah, layering for loose coupling, right? Multi-threading for performance, yes. DD for maintainability, interesting. An autoscaler for availability, oh yes, why not? Functions as a service for scalability. Interesting. Spatial calculations within the database for performance. Reactive programming. Service interaction for reusability. Okay. AWS Lambda for availability, yeah. Oh yes, database partitioning, right. It's a topic in itself. You can move the tickets outside the frame if you need more space. We have a little space around the frame. Oh, for security, yeah, for authentication, of course. CQRS for maintainability. Interesting point. CQRS for maintainability. Yeah, dependency injection for testability, absolutely. Yeah, I can inject anything so that it becomes easier to test, of course. A message queue for reliability, yeah, also a good approach. Automatic vulnerability scanning, wow, that's an advanced topic. Layering for loose coupling, yeah, we had that. Buffering for improving throughput, oh yes. That's a good example. Buffering can improve throughput, but it can increase latency, right? So there's the first trade-off we need to make. Event streams for multiple views of the same data. Oh yeah, interesting pattern. It allows us to add new use cases to old data. That's a fantastic thing. Versioning for changeability, absolutely. Test coverage for stability, yes, of course. Yeah, I can see that you understand what I mean. So certain approaches, they make it easier to achieve certain qualities. Sometimes we need to compromise. For example, if we introduce a cache, it can increase performance but reduce maintainability because a cache is difficult to understand, it's difficult to test. Especially if you're trying to create your own cache, which you shouldn't. You should use existing caches that have been tested. So yeah, sometimes we need to compromise on the quality attributes. So let's see what I have in store. What else I have in store? Why doesn't this work? Okay. Dear me, robot, please go on. Okay, now it works. So I have an example for you. Let's say we want to create a tiny cloud-based system to allow remote working teams to vote for topics, right? So imagine this team, they are working on certain topics. They are trying to decide what will we do in the next 2 weeks. So this would be the context. The goals and qualities would come in the form of stories and qualities. For example, people say we want to add a topic. That's one story. We want to sort topics. We want to vote for a topic. We want to collect those votes to get some statistics. And then we want to decide. The topic with the most votes will get priority 1, then priority 2, and so on. So this is a set of stories for this tiny cloud-based system, voting system. And what are the qualities? People say, we want fast response time. We want to be secure against hacking because we are out there on the internet as a software as a service. We want to be easy to deploy. We don't want standalone clients because they are not easy to deploy. We want to be easy to use, and we also want to be easily modifiable. So the qualities have nothing to do with the stories. They are independent. Now you have got a set of stories and a set of qualities to achieve. So another interactive exercise here for you, please invent enough structures and please invent enough approaches. I've limited the space to 5 here, 5 structures and 5 approaches. So which structures would you propose to support the stories? And which approaches would you propose to achieve the qualities that are required here? So let's try this. Take the timer again. Let's say 7 minutes for that. I hope these tickets can be moved. Oh, no, they cannot. I have to unlock them. That's a mistake of mine. Sorry. Okay, now they can be moved, I think. Yeah, okay. Yeah, somebody says, let's take containers to become easy to deploy. Okay. Excellent topic for debate. Are containers easy to deploy or not? There you see one problem. Easy to deploy. What does that mean, right? To whom? For whom is it easy? Easy for the development team? Easy for the user? What does that mean? Cloud and serverless for fast response time. Okay. Think of the business logic too. For example, what do you need for topics? What do you need for votes? What do you need to make a decision? So the orange tickets should also talk about business, not only about technology. Yeah, interesting debate. Should the API gateway ticket be orange or blue? Is it a structure or is it an approach? You could argue it's a structure because it's a kind of deployment structure. You could also say it's an approach. Yeah, let's make some space here. I pull the unnamed tickets down so that we get a little more space. The approach 4 and the approach 2. Interesting. I don't see one structure that I expect to see. I don't see any logical modules appearing. Like, for example, a topic module or a decision module, right? So structures about the domain-driven view of the system. Mm-hmm. Okay, please keep in mind business-oriented structures are important. So we have added lots of technological structure here, or technological approaches, but we didn't add the business topics here, business modules. So maybe I try that, take the structure and say topic module. And let's say I will create a decision module to allow people to add topics and sort topics. So maybe I would, does this have an arrow? Oh, yes. I would allow the topics to be the add topic story and the sort topic story to be linked to, it's a little difficult here, to the topic realized by the topic module. And I put the collect votes and the decision module, the decide function, for example, the decide story, I would put that into the decision module. So this is a logical decomposition of the system. Good. Let's stop here and go to the next module. Interesting. Do this as an exercise in your own team, which structures and approaches you could come up with. Good. One good idea to make this easier is standardize your architecture vocabulary. So whenever new context, new goals, and new qualities come in, you need to create static structures, dynamic structures, allocation structures, and this entire bubble of patterns, tactics, and approaches. If you know these words, and if the entire team knows what these words mean, it's much easier to discuss architecture if you know what a context, a goal, a quality, a structure, and an approach is. And then try to create repeatable decisions, kind of architectural policies. For example, some stakeholder wants a goal. To make those goals run, you can create structures. For example, a stakeholder said, I wanted to have this add topic story, or the summarize votes story, or the vote for a topic story. So I created a module called topic, a module called vote. Modules are structures. And I said, okay, let's run the add topic story inside the topic module, the summarize votes in the vote module, and the vote for a topic module. There must be some coupling between topics and votes. So this needs to be decided. So if you have goals and structures, you can create a logical view of the system. And then you go over to the other side and say, okay, what qualities do we have are required here? For example, easy to deploy. We could say, okay, let's go the client-server approach. It should be fast. Okay, let's deploy a content delivery network as a cache. Right? So whenever we need a new story or a new goal, we look for structures. Whenever we need another quality, we can look for a known approach for that. So this would be some kind of policy. When this happens, then that happens. If your team agrees on that, it makes you much faster. If you put all this together, the architect said architectural reasoning. Architecture is for reasoning about the system. So as incoming forces, you have context, quality, and goals. And as kind of output of that reasoning, you have structures and approaches. Of course, this is not a waterfall approach, right? Collect all context, all quality, and all goals, and then put out all structures and approaches. No, that doesn't work. So don't forget to iterate, get feedback on your reasoning, discuss it with other people. We're humans, we're social. This helps very much. Okay, so some to-dos for you on Monday when you get back to the office. You could run an architectural vocabulary workshop with your team. Which words do make our architectural language? And at least the words structure and approach should be in it. And words like goal, context, and quality should be in that. So step one could be show them this tiny voting system example and brainstorm the existing vocabulary. Step two could be you could collect context and goals and qualities. Step three could be collect existing structures that you had in your systems. Identify the elements and the relations inside those structures that you had. Step four could be brainstorm existing tactics that you deployed, like caches or functions as a service, whatever, right? Brainstorm existing patterns and bundle them into approaches. And step five is very important. Name all that stuff. Give it a name. Give each item a name. And create an entire vocabulary and policies around that and put them, for example, in your wiki or whatever knowledge management system you have. If you need help with this, maybe I can help you with that, or with domain-driven design, for example. So you can hire me. End of advertisement block. Now I open the round for questions. I think we have another 6 minutes to go, and I'm happy to hear about your questions. You can enter them in the system.
Hello, Matthias. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hello, Mirko.
Okay, great. Thank you for your exciting talk. It was really interesting and very interactive. We don't have questions, or we don't have questions now.
Oh, okay.
Yet. But if you as viewers, if you as attendees want to know something about the topic in more detail, or you have questions, please ask now. If there's no questions, or if there are no questions, then you can go later into networking channel, maybe Matthias, you are there sometimes today or later tomorrow. Yeah. If there is no question, then thank you for your talk, Matthias.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for people working with us.